Angel of the Airwaves, a Helldivers 2 project, featuring Pandura, the Radio Angel, and Hell Commanders of the Liberty Legion. Cameo from Commander Rod, Goman, and Badger. Written by Lumenaught. Narration created by the author. Chapter 1.
All heroes wear capes.
Step up to the platform, recruit. You've earned it.
Pandura, Juliet, and Harryar did so, and as the cape was automatically attached to her armor, she pumped her fist into a Super Earth salute. She was so happy that she felt like pumping it more than once, but that would be against regulation. This was the happiest moment of her life. That didn't disregard the day she got a perfect patriotism rating, negate the day she got her democracy officer badge, nullify the day she got her super citizenship, nor the day she said I do and kissed her wife. No, it was because all those beautiful events created a mosaic that made her life beautiful. Like compound interest, her life just kept getting better. And if life was better every day, that makes each day the best day of your life. As she was saluting, confetti, sparkler fireworks, and music that sounded like she just leveled up marked the occasion. The salute was almost involuntary, but the welling tears in her eyes were involuntary. When you truly love managed democracy, you usually salute for any and every reason, because any and every reason to celebrate freedom was a good enough reason for Lady Liberty. The closest thing to a regret she felt was that Isabel couldn't stand next to her. The Helldiver training test had to be done alone. Not a huge loss, because no doubt she could buy a copy of the recorded event.
Now there's a Helldiver. You remind me of a younger me, fearless and vulnerable and 7 feet tall.
You were allotted 72 hours to complete the obstacle and training course. It had taken Pandura 12 minutes, but in a way that was the point of the test. You didn't need legs to crawl through the test. You could be deaf and illiterate and still pass by looking at the pictures for directions. You more or less couldn't fail it unless you were beyond physically or mentally incapable. Other than treason, of course. And let's be honest, that was almost always a failure of the education system rather than an intentional act of rebellion. I mean, Super Earth basically admits to it by sending people to Freedom Camp, and they come back being cleared of suspicion of treason charges. The point of the test was more of a question. Are you willing to risk your life until you die for managed democracy? To be fair, there were some valid reasons to do it later, like you were pregnant, still on the prosthetics waiting list, crucial or irreplaceable to the war effort in a capacity like attaching prosthetics or managing computer computational calculations for a QB faster than light FTL travel, in which case you should apply for Shipmaster. Then wait until you're 40 or 50 like normal. Just very few reasons not to do it at all. Blood incompatibility with the cryogenic process was the only one she could remember at the moment. Any other reason was simply some type of selfishness, like cowardice. There was no better way to live, and no better way for that life to be remembered than on the wall of martyrs as a Helldiver. During the 100 Years of Peace, it was normal to work until you were 40 years old and then become a frozen Helldiver. This maximized optimum lifelong workload, skills gained toward combat, and maturity in using orbital devastation. Statistics didn't lie. This had been a fact since the days of Old Earth. The 77th Infantry Division was a World War II fighting unit nicknamed the Old Bastards. since the average age of the 77th Infantry Division was 35, making the men considered middle-aged by military standards. This maturity led the unit to low casualty count and high mission success rate. With reports coming in about terminate outbreaks on the farm worlds, the zeal of the younger generation's desire for the eternal honor and glory of becoming a Helldiver was only matched by the waiting list for the training program formality. There were independent companies that had advanced combat training. The cost of it was questionable, given the average lifespan of a Helldiver, but this didn't stop Pandora from taking a throwing knife class, a flame weaponry class, and an overall advanced obstacle course in multiple full armor sets. Why wait doing nothing when you can prepare for when you are doing something? And Pandora was ready for anything the bugs could throw at her. Besides, she had the time. She was on multiple waiting lists. Pandora was a feline faunus that needed glasses. A classified E710 accident caused her mother to have involuntary parthenogenesis pregnancy. She was a custom human. She needed a custom helmet, let alone one in her choice of armor type, requiring two major modifications. Being a democracy officer had its privileges. We're not even going to get into the modifications needed for her tail and boots in the armor. But the day had finally come. The good news is she got the armor she wanted, blessed with the prayer of democracy protects from the democratically devout members of the Light of Lady Liberty. She didn't know it at the time, but her story, this story, would be penned by the Helldiver division that would rise from Super Earth's devout, the Liberty Legion. The catch was she was given an armor mix of DP-53 Savior of the Free armor and a TR-9 Cavalier of Democracy helmet with a Will of the People cape. She had just shrugged. The helmet was adjusted for her ears and the visor set to her prescription. It would get the job done. No feet or tail issues either. Pandora was ready to pounce.
You're finally ready for the realest deal of 'em all. The Galactic War. Liberty, democracy, justice. They're in your hands now. General Brash, over and out.
They were better than in a Helldiver's hands. They were in this Unhariar's paws. Paws that came with claws. Heightened hearing, agility, reflexes, low light vision, and sense of smell, not to mention an instinctual need to hunt. Pandora knew she was about to be the cuddliest expert exterminator in Helldiver history. She turned her back to the open cryopod before her and took a step back. The door slid shut. Needles injected into her neck, and extremely cold air started pumping into the chamber. She felt it. It was fast, but the freezing process wasn't an instantaneous full-body event. It was like a 2-second wave of water being rippled through her body before the stiffness silenced her.
Cargo loading complete. Transport C-43 ready for launch.